Well, as you know, I've been up in my style game and giving my closet a makeover thanks to Peter Millar. And it's been so easy since they're all about quality, value, and style. And speaking of easy, Peter Millar is easily the most comfortable clothing you'll ever wear. Peter Millar polo shirts offer so much comfort and style. They're so easy to take care of. Out of the dryer, and you don't have to put an iron on them. They are great for the golf course because they even have sun protection built into the shirt. Peter Millar sport shirts look like a button-down dress shirt but feel as comfortable as a t-shirt. And they don't need to be dry cleaned. They're machine wash and dry. They won't shrink, and you don't have to iron them. Peter Millar 5-pocket pants are lightweight, highly breathable, made from the highest quality Pima cotton, and have comfort stretch for ease of movement. They'll fit like your favorite jeans with the style to be worn anywhere. They have Peter Millar's exclusive wash and finish to enhance the softness. Peter Millar performance shorts are moisture-wicking, breathable, and quick-drying. They have a stretch waistband so they move with you. That makes them perfect for playing around a golf, taking care of chores around the house, really anything you'll be doing this weekend. You'll never have to worry about what to wear to any occasion. Peter Millar is the go-to clothing for vacation, work events, the golf course, and even working out. Put Peter Millar on in the morning and never look back. You'll always have the right look. Check him out on social media at Peter Millar and at Peter Millar Golf. Peter Millar is the most comfortable clothing I've ever worn. And right now you can head over to petermillar.com/wingo and check out some of my Peter Millar favorites. Be sure to use my link and you'll receive complimentary shipping and a free hat. That's Peter Millar, MILLAR.com/wingo. petermillar.com/wingo.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
Good Friday morning, everybody! Welcome in to another edition of Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We're on ESPN2 for the first 2 hours of the show. Here, henceforth, now and forever. Glad you're with us. Live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. And a bevy of our beautiful friends.
Yes.
They're all here with us.
This is awesome.
Give the guy in the hat, like, extra special privileges.
Oh,
whatever.
He's already taken extra special privileges. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a football town. It is football weather, and we have football to talk about. What's better than that?
Yeah, it's full-on tailgate season out here, too, right now. I look behind here, and I look at everyone, I see all the red Solo cups. I was like, you guys all drinking? And they all look at me like I'm crazy. Like, of course we're drinking. What are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Drinking. Ridiculous question is that? How else are we supposed to get the practice reps in for Sunday?
That's exactly right.
And all this matters because, as we saw last night, football is back. And what better way and what better town, if you're not at the game itself, than to be here in Green Bay outside Lambeau Field to start off the 2018 NFL regular season.
The only downside of it all was as everybody's gearing up to watch football last night, you get hit with a weather delay.
Yeah.
So everything kind of got pushed for about
you,
4 to 5
Nature.
minutes, a little bit.
It went from those horns to the wimpy party horn last night. His kickoff got pushed back a little bit extra. It was like Christmas morning somehow got dialed back and pushed back into the afternoon. But we got there. The game itself, we'll get into plenty, had a slow roll into what was a pretty exciting finish.
And some things have not changed from last year.
Yes.
Which we also find interesting.
And what I've learned here in Green Bay is a 45-minute delay is, they call it, it's 3-beer delay.
Yeah, it's a 3-beer delay. Everything is measured by beers and brats and cheese curds.
There you go.
And we're okay with that.
Yes,
we
we
want to
are.
be 100% clear. By the way, this setup that we have here in Green Bay is fantastic. The Tundra Trio is literally right across the street from Lambeau Field. And our hotel last night, we stayed at the Lodge Kohler, which was fantastic. But I have to tell you, the bathroom was a little confusing.
Wait. Are you going to talk about bathroom issues here?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right. I didn't know where you were going.
The bathroom itself, now, it's a smart bathroom.
Well,
which, by the way, that's a problem for us.
Right.
But, they have the shower with all the buttons, and I'm trying to... It took me a long time to figure out where the water comes out, which button I push, and there's 3 shower heads in there. And then as the shower's going on, I accidentally hit the one in the middle. Oh, yeah. And I got blasted in the face by cold water by accident.
You couldn't figure out the shower.
It took a while.
I mean, they put pictures on the buttons.
They do. For you, it wasn't that difficult.
In the dark. It was difficult.
Speaking of in the dark, my issue was there's the one master switch.
Oh, no.
That turns on all the lights.
I did that, too.
I turned it off, and all my other lights, I'm like, did I blow a fuse?
Yeah.
I can't turn anything on.
So it's not just me.
No, we're idiots.
It's not just me. But
smart room enough doesn't go.
The shower, once I figured it out, was amazing. It just took a while.
All great.
It was all good. But we are here. We are getting ready. Of course, the Bears and Packers will play Sunday night here at Lambeau. I'm sure there's a Bear. No, there's not. There's no Bears fans here. But the greatest rivalry and the oldest rivalry in all of the NFL. We'll get into all of that, including a big breakdown of the game 1 of the 2018 regular season. But let's start the show like we always do with What's Trending.
This is important.
Oh, and play that Tiger sounder for me, Cliff.
Oh, he looked good.
Yeah, I got a Tiger folder, okay?
El Tigre.
Tiger Woods, yo. Oh, it's all happening at Aronimink. Tiger Woods shot a 29 over his first 9 holes. Finished with a course record tying 8 under 62 at the first round of the BMW Championships, the third of the 4 FedEx Cup playoffs. He's tied with Rory McIlroy atop the leaderboard, a 62.
Be interesting where this goes. Obviously, he's played not well, as we kept talking about in the first round, and really knocked himself out of contention early, was always playing catch-up. Last time he had an opening round this good, you have to go back to 1999 in the Byron Nelson Classic. He shot a 61 in that opening round, ended up tied for 7. So it didn't finish well here, where he's been going is starting bad and finishing well. So let's see. Got the new putter, the new old putter, the Scotty Cameron, worked out extremely well for him. But, boy, to see Tiger in the first round like that had been a rarity this year.
It had been, and the thing that I hate about this is now how forever associated with it Trey is going to be, because Evan and I, who work on our show, were going around here doing some stuff in Green Bay yesterday, and all of a sudden he taps me and goes, "Do you hear? Tiger's on the prowl." And the first person I thought of was Trey, so I am now forever tainted by this show and Trey's Tiger sounder.
By the way, that was just the 4th time in 17 tournaments this year that he has shot under par. So it has been a rarity for him to get off to this kind of a good start. And after the round, he talked about it, basically saying Scotty Cameron, that putter with which he had won 13 of his 14 majors, was back in the bag, and Tiger was happy to have that putter back in the bag.
Been monkeying around with it at home and in the backyard throughout the summer. Just never felt right, but it feels good. I know. I was explaining to Robert over there. I know the release point, and I know how it swings, and my body morphs into a position where it understands where it needs to be to release the putter. And because I've hit hundreds of millions of putts with that damn thing, and I've had it since '99, so I've hit so many putts with it. My body just remembers it. And when I go away from it, even when I was using the Nike putter, I'd always bring it out and hit putts with it. And sometimes it works, but it just feels very familiar to me.
Is there nothing more golf nerdy than that? I know it's release point. My body morphed to the right position.
It's like he found an old friend or something that he hadn't seen in years.
Hello, smokes.
That got to be a little much.
A little uncomfortable?
It sounded like he'd been hanging out with Bryson DeChambeau. They're nerding out over his putter right now.
You know, the other news of this, there's still one more spot on the Ryder Cup team. And while we're talking about Tiger and Rory sitting at 8 under, then at 7 under, Xander Schauffele. I mean, he's a guy who's trying to get that last spot, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
technically, he finished the 12th. Yeah.
You know what he's doing? He's killing me, Schauffele.
With his play?
Come on.
With his play. With his score.
Sorry, I brought it up.
Stop that now.
Xander, I apologize.
Never quit.
Xander, I apologize. You do you, man.
Yeah, listen, so he's there, but Tiger Woods tees off with Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth at 8:06 Eastern, which is
no, that means we lose you in 2 hours.
So, yeah, you guys will finish the show by yourselves because I'll be watching that. All right, we continue What's Trending.
This is important.
With Serena Williams back in the U.S. Open final for the first time since 2014. Cruising past 19th seed Anastasia Sevastova, 6-3, 6-love. She'll go for her 7th U.S. Open title, which would break a tie with Chris Evert for the most by a woman in the Open era.
So she started out slow. It sounds like her come back after giving birth to her first daughter and Tigers sound the same.
Yeah.
They're all both off the slow starts all the time.
Correct.
And then they crank it up. She wins 12 of the last 13 games. And you always need a new line with somebody this great of what they're accomplishing. And for Serena, it's like trying to win her first major after from being as a mom.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm the one that has trouble talking about childbirth now. How's it feel?
First one.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel bad at all.
No,
I
it
didn't think about it.
Yours was much more awkward.
Yeah, really.
You just sort of
really kinda
stumbled on the
looking for
word.
it.
You said like completed birth or something.
It was because the download was complete.
Completed the pregnancy.
The download was complete, all right? I'm speaking Tiger Woods and Bryson DeChambeau. But
so it just morphed? Is that what you're saying?
It did. It morphed.
Listen, so she's in the final looking to win the U.S. Open against Naomi Osaka, who won 6-2, 6-4 over American Madison Keys. So, and Osaka, you heard in the Open there, said she wants Serena. She wants to play Serena.
Be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you might get it.
Again, you're exactly right. Yeah. You're exactly right, yeah.
It's the "We Want Bama" sign of tennis.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe not so much. And again, Madison Keys' second straight year that she is a semifinalist at the U.S. Open, but it is a final with Serena against Naomi Osaka of Japan. She actually has dual citizenship with the United States and Japan. And we continue with what's trending.
This is important.
The Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame will induct their 2018 class of honorees tonight in Springfield, Massachusetts. Former NBA players Ray Allen, Grant Hill, Jason Kidd, and Steve Nash headline the class.
Yeah, excellent class. Going along with Coach Lefty Drizel, women's basketball standouts Katie Smith, Tina Thompson, and four-time NBA All-Star Maurice Cheeks, and our own Doris Burke.
Yeah.
She's getting the Kurt Gowdy Award. She got that last night, so congrats to her. So well deserved. But again, as I'll continue to say in any Hall of Fame, I so enjoy the speeches of the road because we all know the stats. We all seen what they've done to make it in to this Hall of Fame, and it's a different Hall of Fame than like the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This will take, overseas. This will take college. This will take, international games, everything in this Hall of Fame. And to hear the road of everybody that's in the Hall of Fame, to me, is the best part of it all.
So we got Ray Allen, so maybe we can get Doc Clippers' hopeful Celtics reunion here.
Boy, he is really, Doc Rivers has really been talking about trying to get this group back together because there is just... It's just a shame. There's just, it seems, that constant divide between that crew that won in Boston. And he would love for those guys to bury the hatchet. Unfortunately, I think they still want to do it into each other instead of making peace. Yeah, there you go.
Well, unfortunately, Ray made the horrible sin of leaving and going to the Miami Heat, which a lot of those Celtic fans and Celtics players just couldn't get over, right?
You say horrible sin sarcastically.
Of course I do.
It's ridiculous.
He took the best job available, and he went on to win another ring. So
He was ahead of his time in today's current NBA.
Exactly right.
He did a lot of what the rest of the guys have followed with here. But you look at him, Steve Nash, who's certainly a guy that, as we talk about today's basketball relating back, was part of those Suns teams that really a lot of people think begot the current Warriors, the current Houston Rockets, and a lot of what we see in modern basketball.
Yeah, I'm happy for Mo Cheeks, too. Those 80s Sixers teams, one of my favorite teams of all time in NBA history. You had Mo Cheeks, you had Andrew Toney, Mark Ivoroni, for crying out loud, Charles Barkley, Dr. J at some time.
Oh, yeah.
Cliff, don't ever do that with Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Cliff, you did that with Charles Barkley, I'll have Barkley come and stomp you.
We are going to tell Charles you did that.
And by the way, I know Charles. Charles is a friend of mine. He will take you out. Don't ever do that to the 80s 76ers. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Our phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and we finish up what's trending, which what we're all here for and what we're all about. It was the beginning of the 2018 regular season, and really, nothing's changed. The Falcons' 2017 season ended in the playoffs on the goal line in Philadelphia, and their 2018 regular season ended with their inability to get in and the goal line and win the game in Philadelphia.
I mean, just really, listen, first and foremost, this was a sloppy game. This looked like a preseason game, much different than last year's opening game, Kansas City going in to New England the way that game was. This game, was ugly 6-3 game at halftime, and I don't say that because it was great defenses that were playing, even though the defenses were playing pretty well. It was a sloppy game on offense, but wow, the rearing of the ugly head of the red zone for the Atlanta Falcons in the first drive and the last drive of not being able to get the ball in the end zone. You want to talk about deja vu. An incompletion from Ryan to Julio Jones in the end zone ended this game just like it ended their playoff run last year against these same Philadelphia Eagles. So, and I know, Trey, we're going to get into talk about it in a moment about the first drive in the red zone of what maybe they should have done. But that's got to be something when you're thinking new year, clean slate. One of the things we know we want to get better on. Last year, Matt Ryan was 1 of 18 to Julio Jones in the end zone. Now he's 1 of 20 because 2 times last night he wasn't able to do it.
Yeah, and at least when you look at that ending, I thought, all right, you gave your best guy a shot in the red zone, because it seems like when you hear that numbers, that's more than I thought it would be, because they seem to get down there and almost like go away from them, despite Julio Jones' skill set. When we talk about him amongst these group of top-tier receivers in the NFL, there doesn't seem to be one physically more tailor-made for the red area than Julio Jones with his physical gifts. But last night ends up being the quintessential Julio Jones and really Falcon story. Julio, monster game, a ton of catches, over 150 yards, and no touchdowns. That is the Atlanta Falcons in a nutshell.
It is, and Dan Quinn talked about that after the game, about their inability to get touchdowns when they get down there close.
17's over. This is 18, and that's part of our game that we've got to get right if we're going to be really good led. Our ability to, score down there, that has to change, and we weren't able to do that tonight. So we'll give credit to them. We knew coming in this was going to be a good matchup defensively, offensively, and all the different areas. But that part of our game, clearly tonight, we didn't execute at the level we'd like, and we've got work to do.
So I guess that's the best way to bring in the good, bad, and ugly. That's brought to you by State Farm. It's here to help get life right. Talk to an agent today at 800 State Farm. The good, that football is back. The bad, that we had a weather delay. And clearly the ugly was the Falcons in the red zone. And you brought it up, Mike, and I am a believer on this. This is a bedrock of my foundation of how you play a football game. Don't ever chase points unless you need them. The first drive, let's just, I get it, things change and things would play out differently. But if the Falcons, instead of, we're going to bow our necks and make a statement and go in there and score on 4th and goal to prove we're a different team, if they'd kicked the field goal in that situation, you know what they needed at the end of the game? A field goal to tie and send it into overtime. And if they hadn't botched an extra point, a field goal would have won the game. So my thing is, unless you absolutely positively got to have that touchdown, take the easy 3 points to start the game, because the hardest points to get in any game are the first points.
Yeah, first thing I'll say is you never know how the game's going to turn out. Because
I conceded that.
You did, because it was the absolute first drive. And my thought on the why I didn't mind them going for it, because it was the first drive. It was the first drive. They went all the way down the field, ended up in the red zone, ended up on the 1 yard line. So there's a thought process of, okay, we're moving here. Maybe that's going to be a sign of things to come. So let's take the shot. A twofold. We moved down the field pretty easily. And secondly, let's try and change up that red zone thing from last year. So I really didn't have a problem with them going for it, but kudos to the Philadelphia Eagles for making that stop.
Yeah, this ends up being a story about the Philadelphia Eagles defense looking in a lot of ways like it picked up right where they left off last season. Saw the addition of Haloti Ngata poking his head out multiple times last night.
About that, didn't
for
you?
A guy that is,
how can you forget about a guy that big?
I know.
It is just amazing, though, because you'd kind of lost him in the shuffle. I know after, obviously, the longtime Raven, but spent time in Detroit after that, and now popping up in Philadelphia and really making his presence known in a number of snaps last night on a defense that already brought Michael Bennett over on there, in addition to what they had in Fletcher Cox and Chris Long and the rest of those
Chris
guys.
Long had a sack and a half last night.
4 sacks as a team they had. The defense definitely played well, and they played well when they needed it most in the red zone. That was that first drive, and then the last drive, there's Atlanta again, but this time needing a score, so have to go for it. And they try that last pass to Julio Jones in the end zone that ends up, they end up not scoring.
And by the way, can we just say, Doug Peterson, kudos to you. What did they run in that game one more time? The Philly special, and Coach Peterson talked about it after the game.
Well, there was a play we had put in for this week. It was a play that was in our third down menu. We were on the correct hash mark, and it was the right time of the game.
What do you call it?
Philly was the play.
Not Philly special, Philly.
I love it was in our third down menu.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. But in the Super Bowl, it was Clement to Trey Burton.
Yep.
Trey Burton actually tweeted about the play last night, which was pretty cool. This time, Trey Burton, and for those that may not know, is with the Chicago Bears now. So this time it was Clement to Nelson Aguilar, and it was a big play for them because this offense struggled. This offense did not put a lot of yards out there, did not have a lot of great movement out there at all, and this was kind of a spark for them to get them going just enough, get a couple of J.H.I. touchdowns, one a 1 yard run, and then another 11-yard run. Great blocking by the O-line and tight end. It left J.H.I. with one man to beat in both those instances, and he was able to break those tackles and get in the end zone. So not a great offensive night for the Eagles in this one, certainly not for the Falcons either.
We can say higher degree of difficulty on this pass, right? Nelson Aguilar a little more on the move, hit him right in stride there. He gave him a good chance for run after the catch.
By the way, you know who else loves the fact that they call that play the Philly? Our good friends at Bud Light. It's just Philly.
There you go.
That's all it is. A couple of things I'll say, just looking at this at the box score and watching the game. If Nick Foles has a QBR rating of 26.2 going forward, they're probably not going to win many more games with him in there. 19 of 34 for only 117 yards and 1 interception.
Wasn't pretty.
No. And the other thing, and Mike, we talked about it all last year with the Falcons, their run-pass ratio is way out of whack, and it continues to be the second year of Steve Sarkisian being the offensive coordinator. Matt Ryan dropped back had 43 attempts. How many times did he sack? 4 times. So that's basically 47 dropbacks. Okay?
Honestly, that was the thing that stuck out to me more than anything else, was especially when it came to because the Eagles' D line will move around a little bit. There'll be a lot of stunts in games. Is the Falcons for most of the night had a real difficulty in picking up any of that.
But yes, they did. But that means 47 dropbacks to pass. And Matt Ryan had 1 run for 11 yards. I'm taking that out. That was a scramble, so that wasn't a rushing attempt. So you had 47 dropbacks and 17 runs. And once again, if I'm Devontae Freeman, I'm like, what do I have to do? He had 6 carries for 36 yards. I'm not good at quick math, and I know you are, but I know that's 6 yards a pop, okay? If you're given 6 yards a pop, you should probably get more than 6 carries.
I'm surprised. I thought in the second year with Steve Sarkisian, they may have settled more into that because it's not like this was a runaway game either way. You know, this was This was kind of an ugly game. So I was a little surprised at that. And speaking of ugly, in this game, 26 penalties between the two teams, 236 yards. By 2 minutes into the third quarter, Atlanta already had 10 of their 15 penalties. So kind of an ugly game all the way around. But it counts. This one goes in the standings now. So whatever mistakes you made, a lot better to clean them up after a win than certainly after a loss.
Yeah, and it really is just incredible for how much time we had in between, for how much has changed about both sides, how similar this game ends up looking from the very same playoff matchup we saw last season.
So again, to recap, the Eagles still have a little bit of that magic because they found a way to manufacture a win, whereas they didn't really play well on offense. The Falcons still can't figure out the red zone, and they can't figure out they need to hand the ball off to their best running back more than 6 times a game. And it was an ugly game, but you know what? I'd rather talk about an ugly game than not have a game to talk about when it comes to the NFL. Because play those trumpets, Cliff. Yeah! We are fully immersed in the regular season in 2018. Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. We are here with a few of our very faithful friends here at the Tundra Trio at Green Bay, right outside Lambeau. Coming up, more on the Philly, plus a centralized message from Western PA. That's new.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra asked for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's Hotspots.
It's time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Zoom gives you flawless video, crystal clear audio, and instant sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit Zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing. Technology powers your business, and technology changes. But chances are you're still using video conferencing that was wow 10 years ago, but feels more like whoa today. Ditch the choppy video and crappy audio and get back to wow with Zoom. It's the easiest, most reliable video collaboration suite, and it costs about 1/3 of what you're probably paying now. Wow, not whoa. Visit Zoom.us to set up a free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Everybody that plays the Eagles is going to be thinking we got to spend time out of our regular preparation to worry about the Philly special or Philly because it's in the back of their minds now.
Are we getting to the point where we don't believe him when he says, yeah, Doug and I were just on the same page again, wanted it at the same exact time. We got there at the same exact time.
No, I don't believe that. I mean, I don't believe when he said after the Super Bowl they weren't going to run it again. It's in their menu, as they say. Other teams prepare for it. They know it's there. You see it on film. So you just the tough part is recognizing formation. What formation was it? The same formation? What are you doing out this time? It had to be obviously a different guy. This time it was a wide receiver more than a tight end. There are certainly multiple ways you can do it. You just have to prepare for it. And rarely do you prepare for a quarterback to come out of the backfield to catch a pass unless you're Nick Foles or Tom Brady.
Exactly right. But by the way, I guess you could say, yeah, they're on the same wavelength if you believe Tiger's body can morph into the release point with Scotty Cameron. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2 for the first 2 hours, live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay as we are celebrating the start of the NFL season. And, of course, Sunday night, week 1, will be here. Bears, Packers, the oldest rivalry in all of sports, or in all of the NFL. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. And let's go more in on that Philly. It wasn't exactly the Philly special. It was a little different. It was called Philly. But Nick Foles, after the game, talked about the momentum that they gained from using that trick play one more time.
You know, in games like this, Atlanta's a tremendous team. Their defense did an amazing job tonight, mixing up the coverage. They did a really good job in their man coverage tonight. But like in the game right there where it's third down, you need a big conversion, but you also want to get some momentum going. So we knew that we could probably get them in man coverage at that time. So they don't really account for me, and they dropped me, gave me a little bit of time. Nelly got on the edge and made a great throw. But yeah, I think that was just a huge momentum boost for us during the game.
It was, and what it led to, it gives them the first down because it was 3rd and 5. Put the ball in the Falcons' 26. Foles hit Zach Ertz on 18 yards on a 3rd and 6 during that drive, and then J.J. runs in for the touchdown to put Philly up 10-6. I mean, it was great timing on that for the Philly special or Philly, or as Eagles offensive tackle Lane Johnson said.
Of course he said this, by the way, because he's been after the Patriots so hard.
This is a tweet from Albert Breer. Eagles offensive tackle Lane Johnson on Nelson Aguilar's throw to Nick Foles tells team broadcast it wasn't Philly special. It was, quote, the same play the Patriots used, the one that Tom dropped.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
They are just a brilliant bunch of trolls.
Because the Eagles are having so much fun, in doing it, and the Patriots don't have fun.
Listen, that's Lane said. Lane has been in on this the entire time.
Has.
And you know what? I'm not letting this point go, Mike, because I'm going to go in on this one with you again. You know, you said you still like the idea of them going for it.
I don't have any problem
in the
at all.
first down. Well, listen, they're not learning from their mistakes. The exact same thing happened in the divisional round of the playoff game last year. They had a 4th and 2 from the 2-yard line with 1 minute to play in the first half in that divisional game. They went for it, they didn't get it. If they kick the field goal, all they need is a field goal to win that game. So they keep making the same mistake with the same results. At some point, when you have the easy points, you freaking take them.
I don't think this is a universal thing that anytime you're there, you take the points. I think it's situational.
Well, in these two situations, it would have worked out for a Falcons win if they had done it.
And it didn't, and I don't have a problem with them.
You play to win the game.
On the first drive of the game, going down the field as easily as they did, and actually, I was happy they ran it, 3 of the 4 times, I believe, or in that right in that area. There at least a couple of times.
I think they ran it all 4 times.
No, they did not. They on third down, I think they threw it.
Yeah.
But you have a problem with them going for it there?
No, to me, that is playing to win the game. That's not playing scared, and I think that's what we're going to see more of in an NFL.
Kicking the field goal is not playing scared. It's smart.
But we have a changing definition of smart now in the NFL because smart for a long time was punting and doing those things. Smart now in an NFL, like Doug Peterson, the one he lives in, that's a little more driven by what his stats and analytics people are telling him, can be going for it on 4th down in more instances, and that could have been one of them. I don't know the numbers of 4th and goal by a red zone like that, but with a yard to go in that area, I have to imagine that could be a spot where we see more of that.
I understand all of that, but at the end of the day, if you look at how the game played out each of the last 2 times they played,
you can't do that. You can't look at the first drive of the game and say if you kick the field goal there, all you need. You don't know how the rest of the game is going to go at that point.
I conceded that to the beginning. You're absolutely
but you keep bringing it up.
But listen, because if they had done that,
you keep bringing up. All they would have needed is a field goal. Then you don't know that at that point. You have no clue that's going to happen on the first drive.
And then that even makes my point even stronger because you don't know how it's going to go out. So you take points when you can get them. Yeah. You take, especially if you're the Falcons team that has had all kinds of trouble scoring in the red zone.
That doesn't mean you just doesn't mean you just throw your hands up and say we don't do this, so we're never going to be able to do this, so we're never going to try and do it.
I didn't say never. What I'm saying is when their points are there, you take them.
We're going to disagree.
Take them and you move on.
We're going to disagree. I had no problem with them doing
Victory for me.
Oh yeah,
victory.
Are you a child?
Victory for me getting Trey, this is like when you...
Is this news to you? Come on.
This is like when you would watch us argue.
I've known you for 20 years.
That's a good point.
This is like when you watch us argue. I just kick back over here. This is a victory for me.
Every once in a while, I'll give you the break.
Yeah.
The best part about doing this show with a father and son is that they will get into it over the stupidest things ever, and I'm like, nappy time?
Break time for you, huh?
There you go. You guys do what you got to do. By the way, Foles said that they had only run that play once in practice. Aguilar was a backup quarterback in high school, but he doesn't have that much, obviously, experience throwing in the game. He said the last pass he threw was during the spring game at USC. The result of that pass? Interception.
Wow. But here, I mean, you're getting it to a wide open receiver, so it's just a matter of how you get it to him. You get it to him so he can catch it and keep running like they did, or is it, a pass that really makes him fall down to catch or whatever? Because I'm sure the thought process is if he's covered at all, run it or throw it away.
But people always throw it, right?
Oh, they want to do it.
They want to throw that football.
I can be a quarterback.
Yeah, Nick Foles not necessarily the guy we associate with being the most dynamic athlete, but again, when you go to Lane Johnson's point,
he was a hooper.
He was a hooper, and when you compare it to Tom Brady going out there and running, anybody is going to look like they're Julio Jones scampering down the sideline.
We always make the joke that when Brady runs, and he does it very successfully, he looks like a baby giraffe.
Yes,
he's just sort of getting his steps as he goes out there, but he's very successful at it. He does a good job. The other thing, we always like to do this. We take game one and we have massive overreactions to it. So did we learn more about Atlanta or did we learn more about Philadelphia?
Well, I think we learned a lot more about Atlanta as far as being same old, whether it's inconsistencies and inability in the red zone. Or to your point, I think it's a great point. In a close game, in a game that Atlanta had the lead, it's not like anybody was running away. You have that disparity in run to pass. With two good backs, especially with one good running back.
30 more attempts if you count the sacks than rush attempts.
I mean, I know Freeman was nicked up a little coming into the season, but I am really surprised at that run to pass ratio.
Well, and formationally, what they did going towards the end of the game, you had so many empty sets when that offensive line had been struggling to protect for the majority of the night that they never decided to bring in some sort of help for them, never decided to support them when Matt Ryan is trying to throw them back into this game constantly under siege.
And to your point, to explain to people, an empty set doesn't have the ability for a tight end to be there to help chip or a running back to chip on a rusher. You're basically to five guys alone, correct?
Five guys spread out wide and Matt Ryan trying to deal to a group of talented receivers while he's constantly trying to pick himself up off the ground.
And here's the other thing. Dan Quinn is a head coach. This has got to drive him a little crazy from where he came from, Seattle. What was their offense? Bread and butter, beast mode, run the rock, then Russell makes some throws. It reminds me of when Dick Vermeil was the head coach of the Rams and Mike Martz was his offensive coordinator with the greatest show on turf and all the things he wanted to do. Every once in a while, Dick Vermeil had to get on the headset and say, give the ball to 28, which was Marshall Faulk. He's your best player. Give the ball to 28. Now, I'm not saying Devontae Freeman's the best player in the Atlanta Falcons, but at some point, if I'm Dan Quinn, I have to say, hey, run the ball more. I think at this point, Dan's got to intercede because this is a problem that goes back to last year.
Well, and like you said, it's game one. It's a very good Eagles defense. So you hesitate to make broad sweeping generalizations. But this season is going to be the trial of Steve Sarkisian, right? Year two, coming off all the success they had with Kyle Shanahan and that prior offensive regime. This is where they're going to start to look at him and say, it's time to produce.
Yeah, in a one-score game, you cannot have a 30-attempt disparity between your pass attempts or your dropbacks and your running attempts. And I'm counting 17 as the rush attempts because one of them was a Matt Ryan scramble.
I agree with that. I mean, Philly had the ball for about 5 minutes more than Atlanta in this game in time of possession.
47 dropbacks, 17 rush attempts. Can't win that way.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part.
If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
It's hype out here, damn it. Sports Center, brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club is amazing shower, hairstyling, oral care, and, shaving products. So no matter how you get ready, they have everything you need. And right now, you can get an amazing deal on any of their starter sets at dollarshaveclub.com/Golic.
All right, Golic and Wingo, presenting by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Is there anything more Green Bay than screaming "Go Pack Go" at 5:45 in the morning
while holding
red Solo cups and wearing cheese heads?
Yeah.
Again, we are delighted to be here live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay as we're fully immersed and getting ready for the first full Sunday of the NFL's 2018 regular season, which will cap off with the Sunday night game between the Bears and the Packers. But all's good in eastern Pennsylvania right now. The Eagles came back and did what they did a year ago, held off Atlanta at the goal line to win the game. All is not well in western Pennsylvania.
Not so much.
As they're getting ready to go to Cleveland and take on the new hyped Cleveland Browns this year, coming off their Hard Knocks appearance. And Le'Veon Bell is not there. And, of course, earlier this week, everybody went all in, some of his offensive linemen did, talking about Le'Veon Bell's money, which you never do.
No.
It surprised all of us. So, obviously, after that, you know it's going to be a continuing process, and Mike Tomlin was asked about Bell's continuing absence.
I told you guys initially when we opened training camp that the two most important variables was when he showed up and once he showed up, the condition that he was in. Until that time, we were going to remain focused on those that were working and their preparation. And so that remains the same. That has been our approach, and appropriately so, because now we're not riding this wave. We're preparing to play a football game with those that have been here and working, and I just believe that that's the right way to approach it. When he gets here, the level of conditioning and overall readiness, those are equations that we'll weigh once he gets here. Until that time, this is where our focus is. So nothing has changed from my perspective or our perspective based on what's transpired in the last number of days. Zero.
That's the proper answer, right? When he gets here, he gets here. And when he gets here, we're going to worry about what kind of shape he's in because, as I said, you can't simulate football, getting ready for football, getting in football shape until you get there. That's why for a lot of these guys, they'll have when you come in like this, you'll get that 2-week exemption to kind of get in a little more football shape. But that's the way to really answer that question is, hey, when he's here, he's here. When he's not, we don't worry about it.
We've talked at length about coaches coming into press situations with a defined message. I don't know if anyone does it better than Mike Tomlin, who always seems, regardless of the question being asked, to make sure that his message is out there. And that's a plan just like we talk about with the rest of these guys. But that is how you properly execute it. And Mike Tomlin's got to be extra diligent with that right now because he has got to kind of herd back together a group of players that at this moment seems to be in a little bit of commotion based on this. To say a little bit of commotion is probably the understatement of the century based on what's gone down with that offensive line. But it is very interesting now, and everyone's talked about it. But what happens if and when he does get back in the building?
The other thing that I find interesting is that suddenly Mike Tomlin's the only one speaking. Right? I mean, normally you have a lot of players that get to talk every day about this. I wonder if there was an edict that came down and said, guys, I'll handle this.
Well, I'm trying to figure that out because I don't know how it's changed in a locker room, but each day around lunchtime, on work days, Wednesday, Thursday at least, the local media was allowed in to have their half hour or whatever with the team. And again, I don't know if that changed. You've been in locker rooms a lot later than obviously I have. If that still is the same, and if it is, I was waiting, and maybe those guys weren't in front of the media. I don't know that. Maybe the one thing that does happen when some players don't want to talk when the media's in there, all of a sudden they're in the training room or they're in a different room when the media comes in during that availability time. So I don't know what happened there, but I was expecting to hear some kind of secondary or second day report from or how players were going to handle it.
See, this is a little more in line of what you'd expect, though, right? Is a whole lot of nothing. And that's why I said what happened here was so fascinating to me because this group in in particular, we talk so much about offensive line and how it's not a position. I mean, Mark Schlereth, who we all know very well for the long time, they used to fine each other in that Denver Broncos O-line room for talking to the media. This Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line is not usually one to go out there and give you a quote like this. So for it to be as all-in-one outburst as this, and now silent, really, I think, indicates this is something they were serious about.
No question. And by the way, Tomlin was also asked about whether or not it would be a distraction when he showed up, and let's just say he tried to put that one to bed pretty quickly.
Agent said that he was waiting to hear your plan on how you would use him.
I don't communicate with agents regarding how I utilize players. I communicate with players regarding how I utilize players.
Is that a question that Le'Veon has ever asked you?
Again, I'm not getting into intimate details of communication. I don't believe that that's appropriate.
Mike, are you disappointed he's not here?
Again, my level of disappointment is never a factor in terms of our approach to business.
Do you think this affects the team at all?
You know, I think it can. Whether it's negative or positive is up to the team.
I love Tomlin. I love Tomlin for those answers.
That's a great point at the end there. That it is going to come on that team. Those players that spoke up, those guys are leaders of the team. Now, how do you corral everybody together? And now it's like, hey, let's band together and go win. Or does this continue to be, a point of contention for them?
And my money's on they figure it out.
I agree with that.
I agree. I could listen to Mike Tomlin say anything. Coming up, an NFL team's got its quarterback back, but they haven't won an opener since 2013. We'll discuss it in the Tundra Trio in Green Bay.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra asked for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
Well, as you know, I've been up in my style game and giving my closet a makeover thanks to Peter Millar. And it's been so easy since they're all about quality, value, and style. And speaking of easy, Peter Millar is easily the most comfortable clothing you'll ever wear. Peter Millar polo shirts offer so much comfort and style. They're so easy to take care of. Out of the dryer, and you don't have to put an iron on them. They are great for the golf course because they even have sun protection built into the shirt. Peter Millar sport shirts look like a button-down dress shirt but feel as comfortable as a t-shirt. And they don't need to be dry cleaned. They're machine wash and dry. They won't shrink, and you don't have to iron them. Peter Millar 5-pocket pants are lightweight, highly breathable, made from the highest quality Pima cotton, and have comfort stretch for ease of movement. They'll fit like your favorite jeans with the style to be worn anywhere. They have Peter Millar's exclusive wash and finish to enhance the softness. Peter Millar performance shorts are moisture-wicking, breathable, and quick-drying. They have a stretch waistband so they move with you. That makes them perfect for playing around a golf, taking care of chores around the house, really anything you'll be doing this weekend. You'll never have to worry about what to wear to any occasion. Peter Millar is the go-to clothing for vacation, work events, the golf course, and even working out. Put Peter Millar on in the morning and never look back. You'll always have the right look. Check him out on social media at Peter Millar and at Peter Millar Golf. Peter Millar is the most comfortable clothing I've ever worn. And right now you can head over to petermillar.com/wingo and check out some of my Peter Millar favorites. Be sure to use my link and you'll receive complimentary shipping and a free hat. That's Peter Millar, MILLAR.com/wingo. petermillar.com/wingo.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra asked for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's Hotspots.
Hope your Friday morning is off to a good start, because ours sure is. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2, live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Just across the street from Lambeau Field, where Sunday's action will wrap up Sunday night with a game between the Bears and the Packers. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. And we're in it now.
Well, we really are. Listen, what better place, at least for us, I can only speak, for us, to be in Green Bay. I mean, Lambeau Field, what's the one thing I told you when you were trying to make your way in the NFL? I said, one of the greatest experiences you're going to have is to play in Lambeau Field. And you got that experience. I played here as well. This is such a great place for football, just to be in the heart of football as we started football last night in Philadelphia with Atlanta and Philly, which obviously we're going to get into, but we're here again. Packers take on the Chicago Bears this Sunday night, but just what a great, it just feels like football here.
I said coming from where we do at Notre Dame, where tradition is the number one buzzword, this is the NFL franchise that in my mind most closely matches that. When you get a city that is so dialed into its team, that so understands the folklore, and when you go inside, you can hear the ghosts in the same way that people always talk about there. You mentioned the last football game I ever played, preseason number 4 here, and when I knew this town was really serious, because I hadn't been up here before that, it's the 4th preseason game when scrubs like me are trying to make a roster on the back end. It's not the big names. You're not going to see Aaron Rodgers run out in that game. And the town shuts down, and it is full to the brim in that stadium. And I said, all right, this place is just different.
Oh, when they had the family night practice, I think the place sells out. I mean, they get several tens of thousands of people. It's just great. If you're a fan of football, there's a couple places you have to go in your lifetime. One is the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And one is here.
Yeah,
it's just, as soon as I got it, the first thing I did is just walk around the stadium as much as I could. It's just a special place. And if you like the game and what it means, there's really no better place than Green Bay to be here, unless you're watching your home team win a game somewhere else.
There you go. That helps too.
That is the outlier. So we'll get into a lot of the games coming up this Sunday, but first we'll start this hour, as we always do, with What's Trending.
This is important.
And Tiger Woods, to use Jimbo's term, is trending again, and that's why he's on the Ryder Cup team. He shot a 29 over his first 9 holes and finished with a course record-tying 8 under par 62 first round of the BMW Championships at the Aronimink Country Club outside of Philadelphia, the 3rd of 4 FedEx Cup playoffs. And, Mike, this was a rare and random departure from what he'd normally done in first rounds.
Yeah, he usually puts himself in a hole, and he's always playing catch-up, and he's never been able to catch up all the way to win a tournament. So the last time he shot an opening round this good was in 1999, the Byron Nelson Classic. He shot a 62, ended up tied for 7th, though, in that tournament. So we'll see. He's been money on the weekend, so we'll see what today holds as he and McIlroy sit there at 8 under, and then where he can go from there. But there are battles in this. This is the 3rd in the FedEx Cup here, the FedEx playoffs. We're in 70 players. We're going down to 30 for the last one on a battle to get into that 30, and also for the last Ryder Cup spot. Tiger's there, Phil's there, DeChambeau is there as well. And so you're looking for that last spot. A lot of people think Tony Finau maybe has the inside track, but Xander Schauffele is sitting there at 7 under. He's trying to make a bid to become that 12th person on the Ryder Cup team.
Yep, so that's kind of what we keep our eye on. The Ryder Cup has sort of been in every portion of the golf season. It's kind of had its big picture goal for so long. A Tiger, it was the Masters. You move through that and you get to some of the other majors, and now we're finally at that point where the Ryder Cup is sitting at the end of this as the Holy Grail, and we're about ready to complete that team.
And by the way, speaking of the Holy Grail, Tiger might have put that back in his bag. He put the Scotty Cameron putter back in his bag, the putter with which he has won 13 of his 14 majors. And let's just say Tiger was happy he and his Scotty were reunited.
Been monkeying around with it at home and in the backyard throughout the summer. Just never felt right, but it feels good. I know. I was explaining to Robert over there. I know the release point, and I know how it swings, and my body morphs into a position where it understands where it needs to be to release the putter. And because I've hit hundreds of millions of putts with that damn thing, and I've had it since '99, so I've hit so many putts with it. My body just remembers it. And when I go away from it, even when I was using the Nike putter, I'd always bring it out and hit putts with it. And sometimes it works, but it just feels very familiar to me.
You know, there's one of those situations where maybe a sponsorship costs you something, because you got to think, why did he ever take that putter out of the bag? Well, when you're all of a sudden going to use all the Nike equipment that, oh, by the way, they're not making anymore, you know, that takes you away from a putter that feels like an old friend to you. But he's been through a couple more since that as well, before now he's finally back with the one he used for all those
Forget
majors.
an old friend. That sounded a little more intimate than
that
just
did.
a friendship.
That's a relationship.
It's a bit of an overshare.
That did get going a little bit.
But again, to your point, I don't understand why he ever went. I get.
Well,
it.
he did for the Nike. He had to with the equipment and the deal.
Well, right, but
but after that he.
Right, but Scotty Cameron is a Titleist putter, and when he was Nike, he was still using the Scotty Cameron putter. So I just don't understand why he ever went away from it. I mean,
makes sense.
It's like the line from Beverly Hills Cop. Eddie Murphy said, "I don't understand you guys. it was working.
Yeah.
The lie was working. If the Scotty Cameron putter is working for him, I don't think he should ever go away from that putter. And again, he tees off at 8:06, so in about an hour. I'll see you later. Let's continue what's trending.
This is important.
Serena Williams trying to do what she's never done. The only thing really she's never done in her career, win a major or a Grand Slam as a mom. She's in the U.S. Open final for the first time since 2014, beating 19-seed Anastasia Sevastova 6-3, 6-bagel. She'll try for her 7th U.S. Open title, which would break a tie with Chris Evert for the most by a woman in the Open era.
So here's the storyline facing Naomi Osaka, who basically said after the match, I'm looking forward. I want to play Serena, and again, we always say be careful what you ask for. Well, here you go. Largest age gap between women's finals. This is the second. It's 16-year difference. 1991 U.S. Open. Monica Seles defeated Martina Navratilova. There was a 17-year difference there. Just to put that in perspective, Williams' first Grand Slam appearance, the 1998 Australian Open, which started in January of 98. 3 months earlier, a few months later, Serena Williams in her first final in the majors, and now they meet in the final.
It really is the daunting task, and regardless of what sport you go into at the professional level, when you get in situations where you're around people you've grown up your whole life watching, they always say it's the players that can put that to the side as soon as possible that end up being successful, because if you're there in awe the way a lot of guys are when you sit down. I remember walking into a building in New Orleans and you see Drew Brees at breakfast and you go, well, this is weird, and the minute you start thinking about that too much is the minute you're already out the door.
Well, to that point, last FedEx playoff event in Boston, the Dell Technologies, Bryson DeChambeau said, I'm paired with Tiger Woods. He was my childhood idol.
Yeah.
He was not odd as he went out and shot a 63 when they were paired together.
He put it aside pretty well.
And he seemed to figure that one out pretty quickly. And we'll finish up what's trending with this last nugget.
This is
the
important.
WNBA Finals begin tonight between the Storm and the Washington Mystics. Game 1 of the best-of-5 series begins at 9 p.m. on ESPN News. Both teams need all 5 games to win their semifinal series, including tough victories in the winner-take-all Game 5.
Still go back to that moment in Game 2 with Atlanta and Washington when Elena Deladon went down,
scary.
Holding, and it looked like she was in a ton of pain. You just had to be thinking, okay, they're done. Not thinking she was going to be able to come back, but it was a bone bruise. She's back. She is what she is, one of the best players in the game. Now going against Sue Bird with that broken nose, and Brianna Stewart, who is just, listen, she was unbelievable at UConn, which has turned out, great player after great player, but she may be right there at the top with Diana Taurasi, I think, as the best ever to come out of that school.
First title appearance for Washington right now, and in the year where Washington sort of lifted the title curse in that town. So we'll see if the Caps pop the cork on this and the Mystic can go and follow suit.
We're going to expect Elena Deladon then to act like Alex Ovechkin,
right?
with the WNBA trophy if they're to win it.
I can say we'll see if the keg stands get banned there too.
Well, I have to say, we need to find out the structural integrity of the WNBA championship trophy. Like they're working on that with the Stanley Cup.
Speaking of that, we got your keg ready here.
Yes, we do.
Keg stand Wingo. I know the people want it.
Legs up keg stand.
Yeah.
Legs up keg stand.
Keep dreaming. Glad you're with us, though, Golic and Wingo. We are here because, by the way, the sun is coming up. It's just
beautiful.
a beautiful morning here
for everybody except
Field.
here at the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, well, they're not feeling so good about it, but they have time to wallow in their misery as they won't play again until next Sunday, a week from a couple of days from now.
Against Carolina, they take on next week.
But everybody else is about to get going except for the 2 Monday night double dips that are going to be on ESPN Monday night. So before we get into the Sunday, let's get into the full immersion of the games and some of the games that we really like week 1 of the first Sunday of the NFL regular season with our 5-point stance.
This is 5-Point Stance on Golic and Wingo.
All right, let's take a look at some of these games, and let's start with the Bengals at the Colts. Andrew Luck making his first start since the end of the 2016 season.
Well, the one thing I'm focusing on here is what did we still say, even though Ryan Kelly was back at center, they get the top offensive lineman in the draft and Quentin Nelson out of Notre Dame playing left guard. Now, I know Costanza hadn't been playing at left tackle in the preseason, but that line, Mike, was still somewhat porous, and Andrew Luck was still running around a little bit because of the pressure. And they're taking on Cincinnati, who has some of the most depth they've had in the pass rushing on that D-line they've had in a while. Remember, they just extended Atkins and Dunlap's contracts. Those guys are rushing well. They have others as well. This is where I'm looking at this one, right on that line. Andrew Luck back. You got to give him some time. He's a great athlete to be on the move, but you don't want to get that guy hit a lot. I have a feeling he's going to feel a lot of pressure from that Bengal defensive line.
That's one of the toughest adjustments to make, even for guys as great as Kelly and Quentin both are, is coming into the NFL level. The pass rushers that you're dealing with are just so much better than what you see playing in and play out in college. But on the other side, the Bengals are really interesting to me because during the preseason, and I know it's the preseason, and the games don't count, but they matter is the old line. That Bengals offense started to look like it was clicking in ways it hadn't, and A.J. Green from Andy Dalton started to look like the connection it had been a few years ago.
And I think one of the reasons they did look like that is because John Ross, who was banged up all of last year, their first-round pick out of Washington, really was a non-factor his rookie year. He looked a little bit like Dante Hall, the human joystick in some of those games. I mean, he was moving around on the football field.
That blender of a juke down by the goal line and a long ball he caught in one of the in the third preseason game. That's going to be a very interesting offense to watch. If Tyler Eifert can stay on the field and stay healthy for them, you've got elements at every level that all of a sudden starts to mimic a lot of what we saw from the Chiefs offense. Dynamic guy you can move around, great tight end, and now a deep threat with A.J. Green.
How important is Andrew Luck to the Colts team? They're 43-27 with him as a starter, 10-16 with any other quarterback. All right, we continue with our 5-point stance. Looking at what I think is a fascinating matchup week one, the 49ers at Minnesota. Obviously, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, all the money they played. He's yet to lose as a starting quarterback, be it in New England or with the San Francisco 49ers. They open up in Minnesota, a team that fully believes and expects to be in the Super Bowl when it's all said and done.
But you want to talk about a team in Minnesota that we love talking about their defense and some of the weapons. Diggs gets the new deal, which made our buddy
Adam Thielen,
go in and try and get more money.
We tried to get him to hold out. He wouldn't do it.
A great tight end in Kyle Rudolph, but they've been inconsistent at the quarterback position. Every quarterback on their roster is gone from last year. They're on their 6th different starting quarterback in the last 6 seasons as the opening day starter. They obviously hope to have Kirk Cousins there for a while, so there are question marks. That offensive line is nicked up. The defense, I still think it's going to have to carry this team.
Yeah, the defense who last year finished first in scoring defense and total defense brings back studs at every level with that group. And on the other side, a 49ers team that we're certainly excited about because of the quarterback, but just losing Jerick McKinnon right before the season, a guy who they're familiar with in Minnesota and who they had brought over there, regardless about how you feel about him, they had brought him over there for big dollars, and so you assumed there was a lot of usage coming his way in that offense.
What's interesting to me, Trey, with the 49ers is you just wonder about the patience factor, because remember, we made a big deal out of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, both coming in young guys with 6-year deals.
Right.
So they have time. All of a sudden, Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't lose a game when he starts as a starter, gets paid all that money and barely has done any work in the NFL. So now I wonder if expectations are getting sped up a little bit out there because of how well Garoppolo has played, which I think we still need to kind of a little bit for a little more time on the field.
No, I agree with you there. Look, Jimmy's been great, but I don't think a lot of people are looking at the 49ers as a playoff team this year, and that might be the expectation that some fans are seeing at this point. And let's understand something. Minnesota has basically made an $84 million bet that they're going to the Super Bowl, because that's the money that they gave to Kirk Cousins, guaranteed all of it over those 3 years when they had the lead last year on the road with Case Keenum as their quarterback in the NFC Championship game and came up short. So that's the only way this works for Minnesota, is if somehow they get into the Super Bowl, which they couldn't get to a year ago. We continue our 5-point stance. By the way, the 5-point stance is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Texans, Patriots. The Texans have never beaten the Patriots. 0-6 all time, including playoffs on the road against the Patriots. Houston, Jacksonville, and Chicago are the only teams who have yet to win at New England.
This gets really interesting because I think this Texans team is the one where most people are just slotting them in to the AFC scenario with everything they have coming back, assuming it all looks the same. Deshaun Watson had one of the better, 7-game stretches we've seen for a rookie quarterback, and God knows how long last year before that injury, so we leave with a good taste. J.J. Watt, former Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. They get him back. They get Whitney Merciless back.
Yeah.
They bring over Tyrann Mathieu, and so we're like, man, this all looks good, but those are all guys coming back from injury. And those are all guys we're not sure as they start to get up, as J.J. Watt starts to get older, are we going to get that same guy back, or is that defense going to have to adjust to his best days being behind him?
It's always amazing when you talk about the Patriot and whoever matchup. You always talk about the whoever, because with the Patriots, you kind of know what you're getting, but you don't know what's going to happen when the game starts.
Right.
They could start it off with 12 straight passes, 12 straight runs. You don't know who the guy is going to be that Brady's going to go to, but you know they're going to have a great game plan. I mean, it's just assumed with the Patriots now that they'll be ready to go because they have the best coach. So it's always, what is the opponent going to do? And to Mike's point, all the stars now, it's not new people they got in, it's stars they got back.
Right.
You know, and DeAndre Hopkins has to be one of the happiest guys in the world to hopefully get one quarterback to throw to him for an entire season.
Right.
Because he is one of the better wide receivers in the league. I think that doesn't get put in that group enough, and I think he does deserve to be there.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of wide receivers, I'm really curious to see what this wide receiving core looks like for New England this year. I mean, Julian Edelman suspended. You know what you're going to get back with him, but basically it's Hogan and question marks at this point right now. Brandon Cooks was shipped off
but
to the
they
Rams
turn
in the
question
offseason.
marks into check marks.
They do every
That's
year.
what they do.
I'm trying to figure out which one, which of those guys is going to be that guy this year.
And you know what? While they're working that out, very interested to watch. As always, it's usually a bit of a mixed bag. Patriots running back situation. They go back and they draft a running back at the end of the first round.
Sony
Michel's been a bit limited. He got that knee drained early in camp, and I saw he's a limited participant in practice so far this week. But that's a guy who could be all of the things you want in a Patriot running back in one guy for once, and he could actually be a bell cow for them in a way we haven't seen in a while.
And they have Rex Burkhardt, who they find all kinds of ways to use. And don't forget they picked up Jeremy Hill from the Bengals in the offseason. Right. So one of those guys is going to be have a Deion Lewis type season, the way things always work out in New England. We continue the 5-point stance. I am really curious about this game for a lot of different reasons. The Steelers take on the Browns like they did a year ago, week 1. But Le'Veon Bell was there, and this is a totally different Browns team.
Yeah, and Le'Veon Bell, remember last year he had all season lows in that first game because he had just reported. So we'll see what James Conner can do. You know, a guy with an incredible story, beating cancer coming out of college, and now it's his backfield at least for the time being. So you know what you're getting out of that offense. The defense, I think you get a good push up the middle with that defensive line. For the Cleveland Browns, it's another year of hope. We all think they're better, and all they have to do is win one game, and they've had a better season. But I know they're expecting more than that. The over-under is 6.5 wins for this team. So I think the biggest question mark here is what are you actually going to see from the Browns?
Well, and I think we need to be careful with this team overreacting because the first 2 weeks playing with the Steelers and then at New Orleans to start off your season is not exactly a recipe for getting a lot of those early wins. Those Bud Light containers may have to stay closed for the first couple of games of the season before you get to the Jets and the Raiders in some games, but I think we're all interested after Hard Knocks and after watching this season. Forget the Cleveland offense that's got all this exciting name. What that defense is going to look like, because everyone's looking at Myles Garrett and say, this is a guy who looks like he's got Defensive Player of the Year type skills that he's starting to actually put together, provided he can stay on the field and stop getting nicked up.
And how much pressure they're going to get because of a guy they didn't draft in the number 4
Bradley
slot.
Chubb. Denzel Ward, the corner is banged up. But I tell you what, when he went against the Eagles first teamers in that Week 3 preseason game, it was a turnstile to the quarterback. Myles Garrett put on a show. And we finish up our 5-point stance with perhaps the marquee one-on-one matchup of Week 1. Jags at MetLife to take on the Giants. Odell, this is Jalen. Jalen, this is Odell.
And now they're kind of downplaying it. You heard Odell said, I'm not taking the cheese like I did against Josh Norman. I learned you have Jalen Ramsey saying it's not me against Odell, it's the Jacksonville against the Giants. So now they're saying the right things, but you're still hoping for that explosion on the field. Not what we saw with Odell and Norman, because that turned ridiculous, and it cost your team when the flags start to come out. But just from the pure talent standpoint of how good these two are when they are matched up against one another.
I mean, they could say all that all they want, too. Jalen Ramsey's the guy that got A.J. Green to snap last year. If you're that level of provocateur, I have a feeling at some point we're going to see sparks fly. But for the rest of it, it's can that Jacksonville Jaguars defense continue to buoy an offense that we're always going to look at Blake Bortles and say, we're not really ready to buy in.
And then the O-line of the Giants had revamped. Will Hernandez on the left side, Nate Solder on the left side, Flowers goes over to the right tackle. Can they get it together and protect Eli and block well for Saquon Barkley? Barkley.
It is interesting. Saquon Barkley was the second overall pick, and he's sort of an afterthought in this game.
Except for jersey sales.
Exactly.
He's number 1, I think, isn't he?
He's doing very well.
Doing all right.
By the way, and here's how good Odell Beckham is. Odell Beckham Jr. is. Since he came into the league, he's missed 17 games. Only one player has more touchdown catches than his 38. That's how dynamic he's been with missing over a full regular season in his brief career. And that is our 5-point stance. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever. And if you're watching on ESPN2, the sun is up and it's glorious here in Green Bay. Coming up, we'll talk to a former Packer Pro Bowl wide receiver who has a street named after him around here. And we'll ask him if he could throw the ball as Nelson Aguilar did last night.
It's time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Zoom gives you flawless video, crystal clear audio, and instant sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit Zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing. Technology powers your business, and technology changes. But chances are you're still using video conferencing that was wow 10 years ago, but feels more like whoa today. Ditch the choppy video and crappy audio and get back to wow with Zoom. It's the easiest, most reliable video collaboration suite, and it costs about a third of what you're probably paying now. Wow, not whoa. Visit Zoom.us to set up a free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
This is our kind of morning. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay, Wisconsin, as we are here celebrating the beginning and the return of the NFL's regular season. And what other place, outside of watching your favorite team win a game at home, would you rather be than here at Lambeau Field?
Yeah, I mean, certainly being here in Green Bay at Lambeau, I mean, what football means here. But really for any fan, we went through this with the college football last week, especially the teams that had the ranked matchups to get that win, what these NFL teams are now and their fans are going through, because in the NFL we have seen 5-11 teams the next year win a Super Bowl. So there's always that hope that no matter what you did last year, that there's hope again the next year, because you never know what can change your fortunes. Unfortunately for Green Bay last year, it was on the negative side with Aaron Rodgers getting hurt. But you never know when you get to that week 13, 14, the attrition of the year, who's injured, who's not. But there's always that hope at the beginning of the year that our team can do something.
Yeah, it's always interesting when we talk about those teams that make the jump to playoff status. We think the Rams, where you have young players that take some step forward. For here, it's a pretty simple formula as to why Green Bay is looking forward to a probably return to the playoffs. And his name is Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. And as I just heard in the background, he is, in fact, the GOAT. So
yeah, he is.
You get that. You get the Notre Dame-Michigan effect. You can just start off with Bears-Packers week 1 of your NFL season.
I mean, it's fantastic. As the season opened last night with Philadelphia beating Atlanta in Philadelphia after they raised the banner. And then what will happen is, and we'll do it Monday, it'll be Overreaction Monday.
Oh,
but
we love Overreaction
for these
Monday.
two teams from last night, it could be Overreaction Friday for the Atlanta Falcons in a game that was a sloppy game for both teams with 26 penalties. The Atlanta Falcons, the same things that plagued them last year, you always want to improve upon your problem. It's not the good things you do well, it's how well you improve the bad things that you did. Red zone was bad last year. Run-to-pass ratio was bad last year. And we see in game 1 the exact same situation for them. That, to me, is what is going to be the element of concentration in the film session. And really going to be in the process going forward.
Right.
Does Dan Quinn, go to Steve Sarkisian and say, you know what? We need to start running the ball a little more.
To that point, just so people understand, there were 43 pass attempts last night, but he also was sacked 4 times. I count that as dropback or a pass attempt. So there are 47 pass attempts in that game for Atlanta. There were 18 runs, but one of them was a 11-yard scramble by Matt Ryan. They're calling a naked bootleg for Matt Ryan.
No, they're not.
So what you had is 47 called pass plays, against 17 called running plays in a one-possession game.
Yeah.
A game in which where you have two great running backs, or two very functional running backs, rather, in Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. And, yeah, Freeman's a little banged up, but he had 6 carries for 36 yards. And remember, Devontae Freeman, this goes back to Super Bowl 51. They stopped giving him the ball in the second half, and he's like, they give me the ball, we win the game, I'm the MVP. He's not wrong then, and he's not wrong now. They have got to be more committed to running the rock.
What's the frustration of the guys up front, those old linemen who I know you and I know offensive linemen, you'd rather run block than pass block. So what do you think their frustration level might be in
I'll
this?
tell you where that frustration manifests itself, and you saw it for the Falcons last night when they struggled to protect Matt Ryan a lot. What's the situations you end up in? Because what's the last thing I want to give you as a defensive lineman is options.
Right.
Or worse yet, remove them on my side where you know you can pin your ears back and rush. The Eagles last year were the third-ranked third down defense in the NFL. The Falcons were the number 1 third down offense. Well, last night the Falcons' average yards to go on third down was 9.3.
Oh, that's
what
pin
are you
your
doing?
ears back.
What are you doing more often than not in those third and long situations? So that's where you get frustrated with as an O-line saying, we're not winning on first and second down because you're not letting us run. So all of a sudden I get onto third down and I have to hold on to my you-know-what because them and everyone else in the stadium knows what we have to do.
Then you go in that spread offense. Now your 5-0 linemen are all on an island because they got no help, no chip and help from anybody out there. It proves to be a difficult situation for them.
Well, it's like the Colts all those years with Mathis and Freeney. They sort of did the run on the way to the quarterback.
Right.
You know, well, think about that. But the Falcons aren't even making them think about that.
No.
That's the biggest issue. Is we are presented by Progressive Insurance, and our phone guest will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We're talking about it, and you know the Falcons are talking about it. Obviously, Matt Ryan was not pleased in any way, shape, or form with the way the offense played out last night.
It was disappointing for us from an offensive standpoint. I thought we came out, moved the ball really effectively, had opportunities, first 2 drives of the game to come away with points, with touchdowns, and didn't do that. So when you get your chances against a good defense like that, you've got to capitalize on your opportunities. So disappointed. I thought we battled. We fought like crazy. We knew it was going to be a tough game coming in here. It was going to be in a 60-minute game. It was that way. But it's disappointing to not leave here with a win.
Listen, kudos to the Philly defense. Matt Ryan completed, 48% of his passes, no touchdowns, 1 interception, was sacked 4 times. That pass to Julio Jones at the end of the game that Julio Jones actually caught was too far. You know, a better pass. Julio got position. He was in front of the defender, maybe would have been in the end zone. So while Matt was off, give a lot of credit to that Philly defense for that.
You know who's probably feeling really good about themselves this morning? Jalen Ramsey. What did Jalen Ramsey say about Matt Ryan? He was less than complimentary about the former NFL MVP, and I'm sure he's thinking, I tried to tell you.
Oh, God.
I'm looking forward to keeping track of the Jalen Ramsey predictions going into this season now, and just check off as we get ready for Overreaction Monday. Yeah. How have Jalen Ramsey's predictions about certain NFL quarterbacks lived up to the billing? Join us Monday on Golic and Wingo.
I'm sure it drives head coach Doug Marrone crazy, but I am all in on that being a thing. And here's the other, we talked about this. You know, when Mike Martz was the offensive coordinator for the Rams and Dick Vermeil was running the greatest show on turf, Mike Martz would get all crazy as the mad scientist and do this and do that. And you can find NFL films footage of Dick Vermeil getting on his headset and saying, hey, give the ball to 28. Give the ball to 28, which would be Marshall Faulk, of course, is a Hall of Famer and had an MVP-type season. And I think that at some point Dan Quinn has got to have that conversation with Steve Sarkisian and say, look, this isn't working. And where does Dan Quinn come from? That Seattle background where they pounded the ball with beast mode with Marshawn Lynch. And, yes, they made plays with the wide receiver, but their offense was run-centric. Now, I'm not saying the Falcons' offense has to become run-centric. It has to become run-relevant, and that is what they're not right now.
Yeah, and not only that, but they're not even that versatile passing. Of the 43 pass attempts, 19 went to Julio Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, that's close to half the amount going to Julio Jones. He ended up catching 10. He was 1 away from the most targets of 20 ever in a game. So that makes it even difficult as well when you're just throwing the ball way more than running and really throwing to one guy. All that said, you're right there on 4th down in the red zone to win the game.
That's what I mean. We're talking about all this. They were right on the edge of beating the defending Super Bowl champions.
Right.
I mean, that's where we're right back to. And I understand it's the Nick Foles version that still looks like there's clearly room for a Carson Wentz level improvement on offense coming back from this. This mimicked a lot of the ways. This was that slow start Nick Foles had to the playoffs where we were still doubting a bit in the beginning before he hit his stride later on there before the Super Bowl MVP. I think this is the first tendency to overreact we might need to resist, because that Eagles D-line, watching it last night,
played great.
I forgot, too, picking up Michael. We talked about Haloti Ngata. Michael Bennett was out there rushing the passer with those guys. You have Michael Bennett, Fletcher Cox, Chris Long, and the rest of those guys on that D-line. That's going to eat up a lot of teams and make a lot of teams look as bad as the Falcons did at times.
It is, and both of what you just said I think is very interesting. Hey, they were right there in this game. Well, you know what? They were right there in the game last year. And they should have won the Super Bowl the year before. So for all the things that you can say positive about the Falcons, man, they have trouble finishing the deal. Let's be clear about that.
And as far as Philadelphia, now let's also be honest, while Nick Foles did a great job when he filled in, Nick Foles is a backup quarterback. And what do you ask your backup quarterback to do?
Just don't lose the game.
Hold the show down. It's exactly right until your starter gets back. And he wasn't great last night. He wasn't asked to pass the ball a whole lot last night. And as I said before the game, I thought it would be a lot of short passes. And it was, because he didn't, throwing over 15 yards, he wasn't very accurate at all. But keep your head above water, do well with the backup until your starter gets back, and they're sitting at 1-0.
And now we'll figure out with the long layover before they play, 10 days?
Tampa Bay,
at Tampa Bay with Ryan Fitzpatrick, by the way, leading the way for the Bucs, whether or not Carson Wentz will be able to go for week 2. Golic and Wingo, by the way, live today from Green Bay for the Bears-Packers matchup. I just said the Bears-Pack-up. No, the Bears-Packers matchup. We are the pettiest show in America. Brought to you by Grainger. And our fans are here with us. We're great to see you guys. Yes. Hoist those red Solo cups. Coming up, we are all excited about the start of the NFL season, and a former NFL head coach is a 30-point underdog in week 2 of the college football season. We'll get to that.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
All right, we continue here on Golic and Wingo with all of our good friends here at the Tundra Trio outside Lambeau Field. So it's all because we're celebrating week 1 of the NFL's regular season, but there's a lot of college football we need to talk about. And, not everybody had the great debut that our old pal Herm Edwards did at Arizona State. And as we all know, Herm Edwards lives his life by one simple motto, Cliff.
You didn't prepare him for that.
I tried to. I did.
He just played the horn for you.
I mean,
Cliff. Let's try it again.
Cliff, are you even listening to the show?
As we all know, Herm Edwards lives his life by one motto, which is you play to win the game.
Wow.
And right now, Chip Kelly better embrace that motto.
Holy smokes.
He is a 30... His team, his UCLA Bruins, are a 30.5-point underdog at number 6 Oklahoma. Let's repeat that. Chip Kelly, the guru of going fast and all that kind of stuff, is now a 30.5-point favorite underdog with a UCLA team against Oklahoma.
Well, we talked about coaches taking over teams and their opening weekends. Kevin Sumlin in Arizona, they lost to BYU. Willie Taggart of Florida State, they obviously lost to why am I drawing a blank on who Florida State just got? Virginia Tech, thank you very much. And then,
it was
obviously, Chip Kelly, you say losing to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So now big-time underdog to number 6 Oklahoma. This has to be some really uncharted territory for him and what he's used to.
It does, but this was really kind of expected, I think, based on where this team was going to be talent-wise. He was not left with a ton there. We saw the team last year when you had a top 10, top 20 caliber quarterback in the NFL in Josh Rosen. but the talent around him just wasn't there. He was on an island for most of his time, and so you remove the quarterback, which we know is so central to the Chip Kelly offense. This is what you're left with.
Yeah. Go back again to when Chip Kelly was in college and just listen to this stat.
Yeah, it's
Saturday
crazy.
is going to be just the 6th time in 55 games at the FBS level that a Kelly team has been an underdog, and the first time he's been a dog by more than 5.5 points.
And it's 25 points more than that.
It's unbelievable what they are, and you keep going down the line. Texas A&M, where Jimbo Fisher is now, they're a 12-point underdog to number 2 Clemson in that NFL defensive. I'm still stunned at all the guys that came back in Clemson on that D-line.
So yeah, that's a huge issue. So Texas A&M is currently a 12-point underdog. So in other words, Jimbo Fisher might also need to embrace his inner Herm Edwards.
You play to win the game.
All right, Cliff, good job.
Yeah, way to go,
Cliff.
Redemption, my name is Cliff.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Well done, Cliff. Jimbo is a double-digit underdog, making it the 3rd time, with all 3 of those times coming against Dabo Swinney and Clemson. That's the most interesting thing I find about that. Then you have our guy, Darius Rucker, and his South Carolina Gamecocks, number 24, currently a 10-point underdog against number 3 Georgia. The Gamecocks were money as the underdog last season, going 6-1 with 4 outright wins, 6-1 against the spread, and 4 outright wins. It's going to be a tough one.
No, it is. You know, they just jumped into they had one of those games, Coastal Carolina. They played, but because of the teams
don't sleep on Chanticleer Pride
in the teens there in the top 25 that dropped out, they jumped into it. So that's why it's a ranked now. They lost to Georgia last year, coming to the end of the season. The 2 tough games they had, they lost to Georgia 24-10. Then they lost to Clemson 34-10. They did beat Michigan in the bowl game, so they were kind of springboarding into this year. So a big test for them pretty early in the season.
And that was a change in offensive coordinator towards the end of the season that took a while to take hold. You really saw that offense manifest itself in the bowl game the way they wanted to look this year. You've got an experienced quarterback in the SEC in Jake Bentley, who, based on SEC quarterback play so far, may be working his way down that list. But Deebo Samuel, I'm telling you, when you get to the middle of the season, that guy will be in the handful of names talked most about the Heisman Trophy. And if they're going to win this game, he's going to be a huge factor. A lot of special teams touchdowns for him early in last season. As he comes back from injury, we'll see if he can start to get some of that magic.
They could use a special team touchdown. They're going to need some a little bit. You know, they're going to need to play almost that perfect game, and Georgia maybe not be at their best for this.
And then number 17 USC is currently a 6-point underdog at number 10 Stanford. The Trojans have struggled in the underdog role under head coach Clay Helton going 1-8 against the spread in this spot. The lone cover was an outright win in 2016 against Washington.
Well, you got a freshman quarterback in JT Daniels, so a kid from just out of high school still trying to lead this offense. And then the other side, you have Bryce Love, one of your leading contenders for the Heisman. San Diego State, who Stanford beat, just loaded up the box and said, "You're not going to run and beat us." As a team, he ran he had 19 yards, I think, rushing. So let's see if USC tries to do that exact same thing and what the freshman can do.
And on the other side, his freshman quarterback on one side, very experienced quarterback, KJ Costello, who's coming back. Big, rangy receivers for Stanford. We'll see if they do load up on the box, if those big receivers can go up and get it.
Listen, this is a fascinating weekend in terms of where the spread is against some of these teams that traditionally have not been an underdog, especially the way Chip Kelly is at UCLA as they take on Oklahoma, who just rolled Florida Atlantic in their first game. All right, we are here. Coming up, it's all happening with Tiger. Plus, the seasons may have changed, but everything has stayed the same for both Philly and the Falcons. Stay with us, Golic and Wingo.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered